realization that I poured this actually not that long ago on the podcast. So sorry everybody to repeat myself, but it was the appropriate beer. This is Saison du Pont. It is a Belgian style. It is a Belgian Saison. It is indeed the benchmark example of a Belgian Saison.
So I have a question before you go further. You see my unique kind of cap on this?
Yeah, cork the cage.
I suppose because it looks a little bit like a champagne bottle, I'm expecting to blow. Is that likely to happen?
Yes, it is highly
Oh, that's not the answer I wanted.
I mean, it's not going to spout. It's not going to spout like champagne, but it is highly effervescent. And,
you want to give me a tip on how I even do this?
It's not going to blow the cork out when you take the cage off.
Oh, I just kind of loosen it up like this.
Yeah.
Kind of twist it. Okay.
Twist it, take it off, and then just like woodgie the
woodgie
out, like.
Woodgie.
I chose this because Saison is a farmhouse ale. It harkens back to the days when water would kill you, so people brewed beer, brewed low alcohol beer, and drank it throughout the day, and that's how they kept themselves hydrated.
And that foams up. Look at that.
Yeah, it's really highly carbonated. But it gradually has gone from, on the farm, you make beer with whatever you happen to have, and everybody's beer was different, to Saison being kind of a defined, recognized style. That style is it's very dry, it's very effervescent. You have peppery, like black peppery fermentation character. It's a really unique yeast strain that gives this peppery kind of citrus flavors. There's some really soft, grainy malt underneath. I love Saison. It's one of my favorite beer styles. The reason I chose this is because it's a farmhouse ale, and I know that this poem takes place in like modern day, but as I was reading it, the images that were conjured in my head were like 100 years ago or more in Europe or Mexico, and dragging this great big old oak table out into the yard, and it's full of earthenware, like dishes full of food, and everybody's gathered together. And so that's the images it brought up. So I figured a farmhouse ale like Saison du Pont is the appropriate beer.
That sounds like excellent reasoning, and I have a choice. I can wait 10 minutes for the froth to go down, or I can get a nice big mustache.
Yeah, get the foam mustache. Just go for it.
We'll go for the foam mustache. Cheers. Can you see it? Not much.
I don't know if you like this or not.
What do you think?
Remind me, do you know if I liked it last time?
I don't.
I have a feeling I might not have liked it so much last time, but you're getting me to develop a taste for beer, and I kind of like it this time.
All right, it's a great beer. This, like I
Bit
said,
of
a
tang.
What's that?
It's got a bit of a tang to it that I kind of.
That's that yeast. It's a really unique yeast strain that puts off some clearly identifiable flavors that when you taste it, it's like, oh, that's a Saison.
Okay, yeah, I like it. It wouldn't be my first choice. It's probably not in the top 10, but it's definitely not in the bottom 10 either.
Well, that's good because you have a great big bottle of it.
What is your advice to other poets? What really drew me about this poem was how visual it is. It's very tactile. You can see it, you can hear it, you can smell it, you can almost touch that scoop in the table. And that drew me in. What is your advice to other poets on ways to draw a reader into a poem?
What I'm thinking of right off the bat is we talked at the beginning about books and how we can't get to books and but we're still buying books. And one of the things that I always do when I go to the library and I pick books, or when I go and buy books and I get them home and I'm trying to decide which one to read first, I open them, all of them up and read the first paragraph. And I can always tell by the first paragraph if it's grabbed me. And how it grabs me is if it makes me smell something, if it makes me see something or taste something or feel something. And the very best ones that I just can't wait to get into are the ones that engage all my senses. You know, that is what I would try to do.
I have a scene in one of my books that's actually amazingly, the history is correct on this, where my two characters are trying to escape a medieval walled city in medieval times, and they're being hunted by the enemy. And it turns out that in Carlisle, there is actually recently discovered, like within, I don't know, the past 10, 15 years, but just in time for my books when I was writing them, they discovered that there's actually this massive, huge sewer tunnel that comes out from under, I believe it's one of the houses that belonged to the monks in those days. It was just perfect. So, you know, of course, I couldn't resist writing that that's how they escape. And of course, then you can't resist the pun. Holy shit. Yep, there is. And I
Okay, we
typically
just
avoid
lost our clean rating on
I'm sorry. And I normally, what are we up to, like PG-12 or something now?
You know, you brought a new scent to that phrase for me. Okay, so thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. I'm here for you. So you have just published your first book. What is it called?
It's called Girl Again.
Girl Again, that's right. And what motivated it?
I had just moved back here to my home in Wyoming, North Dakota. Had been living down in the Twin Cities for a couple of years, working as a technical writer, and decided that now was the time to get back home and work on this. And I arrived back here in March of 2020. And I mean, March 1st of 2020, and 15 days later, we went into lockdown. And so I was looking for work in lockdown, and I just went, light bulb, now's the time to get all these poems in order. And I came across this publisher who in Facebook, other people had worked with this publisher. And so I pitched the idea to them, and they said yes. So that's how that happened.
Congratulations.
So this is from Weihenstephan outside of Munich. It is the oldest continuously operating brewery in the world. Been making beer there since, well, they think they've been making beer there as a monastery since like 700.
Wow, that goes way back.
But it became a commercial brewery in 10 something. So they've been making beer for a long time. This is Corbinian. It is their Doppelbock. And man, it's delicious.
Rub it in.
This isn't really what I wanted to pour with this poem. I wanted to find something that is a beer that people probably would have been drinking in the Netherlands around the time that Rembrandt was alive. And you used to be able to find examples of that beer. There used to be a beer here called Jopenkoit that you could find relatively easily. Even a Total Wine had it. But the beer market's changed and it is no longer here. So I looked for something else that was kind of similar in. So when reading this poem, there's a very sort of contemplative, calming sense to the descriptions of Rembrandt's pencil marks, both as a beginning, and this poem kind of ends at the beginning. So and an end. There's a contemplative calming at the beginning and the end with some jumble in the middle. And so Doppelbock is an old beer style going way, way back, originally brewed by monks, Paulaner monks, to get them through the Lenten fast. They drank beer.
Gives you some
It is
calories.
rich, high alcohol, malt forward. There's almost no hop character in this, almost no bitterness in this at all. And it's caramel and toasted bread and plums and dark fruits, and it is really smooth. And Corbinian is a particular, I love double box, but Corbinian is a particularly great example of a double bock. And it has that same kind of contemplative sense that the poem has when you're writing about Rembrandt pencil marks. So
Cheers.
cheers.
I was kind of distracted because I poured this Saison DuPont a little too fast and it foamed up all over the desk in front of me. I was frantically wiping it up while reading or while you were talking. So poem number 3, Rembrandt's Light. Go ahead.
Rembrandt's Light. A number 4 pencil drew his dark things. Hand rubbed shadows in the hollow parts of breastbone, lip, and temple. Blackened, blurry question marks that pocked the bedroom walls, and rows of daggery dots sketched hastily across inverted exclamation points, so heavily graphited that they dully pewterize. It was a fine tool for slashing, too, serrated the rumpled black-eyed page, my jagged rip, tear, and shred, distorted axis lines detailed on a cross-hatched hard edge, punctured and drained the living tint of human skin. But it was finally snapped into the back of an institutionally pink room where he took drawing lessons in a thin gown, was the used up eraser and splintered piece with the counter sunk to barewood molar marks that he put there himself. They calmly presented clean rag stock and a sharpened number 2, expected illuminations, promised me pastels. Came years then of the slow divergence from that old master, sometime hiding in hotels and in lights out rental cars on back streets, disappearing in broad daylight in between the stark lines of realism